in the quiet spaces of our lives, when the noise of the world fades and we're left with only our thoughts. A familiar feeling often creeps in: loneliness. It's that tug at the heart that many of us feel yet rarely speak about. You might recognize it: the ache of feeling disconnected in a crowd, the quiet evenings that feel endless, or the sense of longing when you look at the lives of others and wonder if you're missing out on something important. Today, loneliness isn't just a passing feeling. It's a growing experience that so many share. Look around and you'll see it on social media, where friends seem always happy, at work where conversations stay on the surface, and even at home where screens compete for our attention. Despite our endless ways to connect, we find ourselves feeling more isolated than ever. Loneliness has become an unspoken reality for millions, woven into the fabric of our daily lives. And yet, in this very loneliness, there lies a hidden gift, a possibility that most overlook: the chance to find deep, lasting fulfillment in solitude. Imagine this: instead of seeing loneliness as something to escape, what if we could reframe it as an invitation to discover a part of ourselves we've yet to meet? This might sound like a bold idea, maybe even strange. After all, we're often taught to fear solitude, to believe that being alone means something is wrong. But what if we've misunderstood solitude all along? What if, instead of a void, solitude could be a powerful, transformative experience? Think about the great thinkers, the artists, the spiritual seekers throughout history who spent time in solitude. They didn't retreat from the world because they couldn't connect. They stepped away to connect more deeply within. Solitude gave them the space to grow, to reflect, to truly understand who they were beyond the expectations of others. Imagine how solitude helped the Buddha, who left the comforts of home, or how it shaped great writers and scientists who dared to question the world from within. These moments of solitude weren't just about being alone. They were about opening a door to something greater, a profound kind of inner growth. So let's dive into this idea together. What if solitude could be the pathway to peace, purpose, and self-discovery? What if, instead of fearing those quiet moments, we could learn to embrace them, to see them as opportunities rather than setbacks? In a world that constantly urges us to be connected, solitude might just be the greatest connection of all, the connection to ourselves. In the minutes to come, we'll look closer at loneliness, not as an enemy, but as a guide. We'll talk about how we can take the very thing that feels isolating and turn it into something that liberates us. It's time to look at loneliness through a new lens, to see it not as a shadow but as a light leading us to self-fulfillment. Because when we learn to truly be with ourselves, we'll find that we're never truly alone. In today's world, solitude often gets a bad reputation. From a young age, we're taught that alone and lonely mean the same thing, that our happiness depends on the people around us, and that the measure of a full life is how many connections we make. We grow up surrounded by messages that equate social activity with success and isolation with failure. But if we dig a little deeper, beyond the surface of society's norms, we might discover something surprising. Solitude can be a source of profound strength, joy, and even liberation. Think about how we see solitude today. For many, being alone is a last resort, a condition to be avoided at all costs. When we see someone dining alone at a restaurant or sitting alone on a bench, there's often a pang of sympathy or even pity, as if being alone is a problem that needs solving. We've grown so accustomed to associating togetherness with happiness that the absence of company seems unnatural, even alarming. We're taught to fill every quiet moment with noise and distraction, to avoid the kind of stillness that might bring us face to face with our own thoughts. This view of solitude as something negative is rooted in our culture. As humans, we're wired to seek connection. Our survival once depended on being part of a community. But in a time when our tribe can now consist of thousands of online friends and constant digital communication, this instinct to connect has been amplified beyond recognition. Today, we're not just afraid of solitude, we're afraid of what it might reveal about ourselves. When we're alone, there's no one to impress. No role to play, no validation to seek. And for many, that kind of naked self-reflection is terrifying. But here's the thing. Solitude and loneliness are not the same. Loneliness is the feeling of lacking connection, of wanting company and not having it. It's an emotional state. Solitude, on the other hand, is a choice, a decision to be alone without feeling deprived. In solitude, we find strength and peace because we're not filling a void. We're choosing to create space. It's the difference between being alone because no one is there and being alone because you want to be. Solitude, when embraced, becomes an empowering experience, a chance to connect with something much deeper than any social interaction could offer, ourselves. When we let go of society's expectation that we should always be connected, we begin to see solitude as a canvas on which to paint our inner life. Imagine that you're alone, sitting in silence without a phone, a friend, or a distraction. Initially, this might feel uncomfortable. The quiet can be unsettling, like you're missing out on something, or that maybe something's wrong. But slowly, as you let yourself relax into the moment, a calmness begins to emerge. It's like watching a lake after the winds have stilled. The surface begins to reflect everything around it with clarity. In these moments of solitude, we begin to learn things about ourselves that no conversation could reveal. We become aware of our own thoughts, the patterns of our mind, and even the anxieties we often try to avoid by staying busy. Solitude gives us the courage to confront these parts of ourselves and, in doing so, builds resilience. We realize that we are enough, that our self-worth doesn't rely on the approval of others, and that our happiness isn't dependent on constant validation. For many, the idea of embracing solitude is easier said than done. But there are simple practices that can make this journey more accessible and even enjoyable. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment. When practiced in solitude, mindfulness becomes a powerful tool to connect with ourselves. Start by finding a quiet place, sitting comfortably, and paying attention to your breath. Notice the rise and fall of each inhale and exhale. In this stillness, you're giving yourself permission to just be, without any expectation or judgment. Gradually, as your mind quiets, you'll start to feel a sense of peace that comes from simply existing. Mindfulness is about discovering the richness of the present moment. And in solitude, that experience becomes deeply personal and transformative. While mindfulness focuses on awareness, meditation is about going deeper into that awareness. Through meditation, we create a space where our thoughts can come and go without attachment. First, meditation might bring up uncomfortable feelings or racing thoughts, especially if we're not used to being alone. But with time, meditation helps us observe these thoughts without judgment, to let them pass like clouds in the sky. In solitude, meditation can feel like coming home to yourself, a quiet reunion with the parts of you that have been buried under the noise of everyday life. Reading is another way to make solitude enjoyable and meaningful. When we read, especially books that inspire or challenge us, we enter into a dialogue with the author's ideas and our own thoughts. Reading in solitude allows these ideas to resonate more deeply, without the distraction of other voices. Whether it's philosophy, poetry, or personal development, books can become trusted companions in solitude, offering us insights and perspectives that feel like pieces of a larger puzzle. After reading, take a few minutes to reflect, maybe even write down your thoughts. This practice of reading and reflection can turn solitude into a journey of self-discovery and growth. Nature has a unique ability to ground us. When we step outside, away from the buzz of technology, we become part of something larger. Alone in nature, we find a rhythm that's different from the one we know, a slower, more peaceful rhythm that calms our spirit. Walking through a forest, sitting by the ocean, or even watching the sunset from your backyard can be transformative. Nature reminds us that we're connected to a vast world, a world that exists beautifully without the need for constant interaction. In solitude, nature becomes a teacher, showing us that just being is enough. Solitude is a fertile ground for creativity. Without the influence of others, our ideas have the freedom to grow, whether it's painting, writing, playing an instrument, or crafting something by hand. Creative expression allows us to explore our thoughts and emotions in a nonverbal way. Alone, we're free to create without judgment or expectation. This kind of expression can be incredibly healing and empowering, a way to reconnect with parts of ourselves that may be overlooked in the busy flow of daily life. For many years, I believed that happiness was something that had to be shared. I measured my self-worth by the people around me, by their opinions, their approval, their validation. But solitude changed that. It wasn't an easy shift. The first moments of solitude felt lonely, even painful, as if I were letting go of a part of myself. But as I spent more time alone, I began to realize that joy isn't something we find outside ourselves. It's something we create within. There's a freedom that comes with solitude, a sense of peace that I had never known in a crowded room. In these quiet moments, I found the space to understand my own dreams, my own fears, and my own truths. I no longer needed to look to others for happiness because I had discovered it within myself. Solitude taught me that my self-worth doesn't come from others' opinions. It comes from my own inner peace, my own contentment. Solitude, in this sense, became not just a state of being alone but a state of independence. It was the ultimate expression of self-love, the ability to be with myself, to enjoy my own company, to trust my own intuition. Solitude is a choice, powerful one, and in choosing it, we choose ourselves. In solitude, we have the opportunity to rewrite the narrative of our lives, to rediscover parts of ourselves we may have forgotten, and to cultivate an inner strength that isn't swayed by the opinions or actions of others. It's a journey, yes, and sometimes a challenging one, but it's a journey worth taking, because when we learn to find joy within, we become unbreakable, capable of weathering any storm, of finding peace even in the most turbulent times. Let solitude be your teacher, your sanctuary, and your strength. Embrace it, and watch as you transform, becoming someone who no longer fears being alone but celebrates it, finding freedom, joy, and meaning in the quiet spaces of life. In the heart of solitude lies the potential for some of the most profound transformations, a truth embodied by the Buddha's own journey to enlightenment. This story has inspired countless individuals over centuries, teaching us that solitude can be more than an isolating experience. It can be a gateway to spiritual, mental, and emotional growth. To understand how powerful solitude can be, let's dive into the story of the Buddha's path and then explore how others in modern times have drawn strength from being alone, turning moments of loneliness into opportunities for resilience, creativity, and success. Imagine the young Prince Siddhartha, born into wealth and privilege. He had everything: palaces, luxuries, and a sheltered life that hid the reality of suffering. But as he grew older, Siddhartha began to feel a calling deep within him, something that couldn't be answered by riches or comfort. He saw that life was filled with pain, sickness, and death, and he knew he had to find a way to understand it, to transcend the suffering he saw all around. At the age of 29, he left his home, his family, and his inheritance to seek the truth. Siddhartha, who would later become the Buddha, entered the world of asceticism, a life devoted to meditation, austerity, and renunciation of worldly pleasures. He joined a group of 5 monks and lived a life of extreme deprivation, practicing intense meditation and self-mortification in the forests. The belief was that by denying the body, one could free the mind and spirit. Siddhartha followed this path with unwavering dedication, pushing his body to its limits, nearly to the point of death. Yet, after years of such extreme practices, Siddhartha realized that this path was not leading him to enlightenment. He understood that neither indulgence nor severe deprivation could provide the answers he sought. This realization was profound, but it also came at a cost. When he decided to break his fast and accept a bowl of rice offered by a kind village girl, his 5 companions saw it as a betrayal of their ascetic way. They abandoned him, leaving Siddhartha alone in the forest, without the support or guidance of anyone. In this moment of abandonment, Siddhartha faced an intense period of solitude. He was alone in the truest sense, cut off from everything familiar and from anyone who might offer him comfort or encouragement. But rather than viewing this solitude as a weakness or a loss, he embraced it. Alone, he turned inward, relying solely on himself. Free from the expectations and judgments of others, he focused entirely on his meditation, channeling his energy into understanding the nature of suffering and the path to freedom. As he meditated under the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha experienced the struggles of his mind and body as never before. He faced his own fears, desires, and illusions without distraction or denial. His solitude became his strength, a crucible in which he confronted the root of human suffering. After days of unbroken meditation, he reached enlightenment, attaining a state of profound peace and wisdom that would guide him for the rest of his life. The Buddha's story shows us that solitude, even when it feels like abandonment, can be a powerful force for transformation. It was only in the depths of his isolation that he could find the truth he sought. This wasn't a passive solitude. It was an active choice to look inward, to use loneliness as a tool for growth rather than a source of suffering. While the Buddha's journey to enlightenment may seem far removed from our everyday lives, the principles of solitude he embraced are still relevant. Today, many people have discovered that moments of loneliness, when channeled productively, can become sources of resilience, creativity, and personal success. Here are some inspiring examples of modern individuals who turned solitude into a powerful tool for their own growth. Steve Jobs, the visionary co-founder of Apple, was known for his creativity and relentless drive to innovate. But what many people don't know is that Jobs actively sought solitude to fuel his creativity. He would often go on long walks by himself, allowing his mind to wander without the pressures of daily life. These walks became his meditative practice, a time to disconnect from others' expectations and dive deep into his ideas. In these solitary moments, Jobs developed some of his most groundbreaking ideas, including the concept for the first Apple computer and the vision for the iPhone. Jobs understood that solitude was not a barrier but a space for self-reflection and mental clarity. In today's world, where constant communication is often seen as essential, Jobs' commitment to solitude reminds us that some of the most significant innovations arise from within. His story shows us that solitude can be a space for nurturing creativity, giving us the freedom to think beyond conventional limits. Maya Angelou, the celebrated poet and author, found that solitude was an essential part of her writing process. She would often rent a small hotel room and isolate herself there for weeks, bringing only a notebook, a dictionary, and a Bible. In these quiet spaces, she would immerse herself in her work, away from the distractions of daily life. Her periods of isolation allowed her to confront her own thoughts, emotions, and memories, transforming them into the profound and powerful poetry that has touched millions of readers around the world. For Angelou, solitude was more than just a writing tool, it was a means of self-discovery. Alone with her thoughts, she could explore the complexities of her experiences, from the pain of racial discrimination to the joy of self-acceptance. Her story is a testament to how solitude can deepen our connection to our own inner lives, allowing us to create art that speaks to universal truths. Nikola Tesla, the brilliant inventor, was famously solitary, spending long hours alone in his laboratory or deep in thought. Tesla's solitude wasn't due to social awkwardness. He genuinely valued the time alone as a way to focus his mind. He believed that being alone with his thoughts allowed him to visualize complex mechanical systems and conduct experiments entirely in his imagination before bringing them to life. Tesla's solitary lifestyle enabled him to push the boundaries of scientific knowledge, leading to innovations like alternating current and wireless communication. His dedication to solitude reminds us that time alone can provide the mental clarity needed to see possibilities others might overlook. Tesla's story demonstrates that solitude, far from being a limitation, can be a vital ingredient in achieving extraordinary things. Before J.K. Rowling became one of the world's most famous authors, she endured a difficult period of loneliness and hardship. As a single mother, struggling with poverty and the isolation that often accompanies it, Rowling began writing Harry Potter in local cafes, using her solitude as a space for creativity and escape. Though her circumstances were challenging, she found solace in the world she was creating, a world of magic, friendship, and hope. Rowling's story is a powerful example of how solitude, even when forced upon us by life's hardships, can become a catalyst for creativity. Her isolation didn't limit her. It inspired her to create a story that would inspire millions. Her journey shows us that even in our darkest moments, solitude can be a source of strength, helping us tap into our imagination and resilience. These stories remind us that solitude is not something to be feared or avoided. Whether it's the Buddha meditating under the Bodhi tree, Steve Jobs walking alone to fuel his creativity, or Maya Angelou writing in the quiet of a hotel room, solitude can be a powerful tool for growth, insight, and resilience. In solitude, we find the freedom to explore our thoughts, to connect with our inner selves, and to discover the strength we never knew we had. Our culture may tell us that being alone is undesirable, that connection is the ultimate goal. But these stories reveal a deeper truth. Solitude is a gift, a rare opportunity to see ourselves clearly, to develop our unique talents, and to find a sense of peace that is not dependent on others. When we embrace solitude, we open ourselves to a journey of self-discovery, one that can lead to profound personal growth and transformation. In solitude, we are reminded that our worth does not depend on how others see us, but on how we see ourselves. We learn to rely on our inner strength, to trust our instincts, and to follow our own path. The journey may be challenging, but it is also incredibly rewarding. Solitude, far from being a lonely experience, can become a source of connection to the depths of our own spirit and the boundless potential within us. Solitude is often viewed as a passive state, something that just happens when we're by ourselves. But in reality, solitude can be a rich, active experience, a time to invest in ourselves and build resilience. Embracing solitude doesn't mean sitting idly, waiting for time to pass. It's about intentionally creating routines, practicing mindfulness, getting in tune with our body through exercise, connecting with nature, exploring new skills, and setting personal goals. Each of these actions transforms solitude into a tool for self-development. So, here's how to embrace solitude in a way that not only makes the experience enjoyable but also deeply fulfilling. One of the first steps to making the most of solitude is establishing a daily routine. Having a structured plan gives purpose to your day, transforming empty hours into a productive flow. Consider starting your day with a morning ritual, something small and achievable that sets a positive tone. Whether it's as simple as making a cup of tea, writing a short journal entry, or reading a few pages of a book, morning routines can act as anchors, providing a sense of stability. As you go through your day, try to designate specific blocks of time for activities that nurture both your body and mind. For example, spend an hour on physical activities, whether it's a brisk walk, yoga, or a workout session at home. Dedicate time to reading or learning something new, even if it's just 15 minutes. These small commitments throughout the day build consistency and discipline, qualities that deepen your relationship with solitude. The routine you create doesn't have to be strict or demanding, it just needs to serve you, providing a framework that adds meaning and rhythm to your time alone. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing. In solitude, mindfulness becomes even more powerful, as it allows us to connect deeply with ourselves without distraction. You don't need special training or equipment to practice mindfulness. You only need a willingness to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. To begin, find a quiet spot where you can sit comfortably. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and focus on your breathing. Feel the sensation of each inhale and exhale, letting your mind settle on this simple, grounding rhythm. As thoughts inevitably arise, let them pass without getting caught up in them. Practicing mindfulness helps cultivate an inner calm, a sense of peace that doesn't rely on external circumstances. You can also bring mindfulness into everyday activities. When washing dishes, feel the warmth of the water and notice the sounds around you. When walking, pay attention to the feeling of each step and the environment around you. These small practices help us stay present, reminding us that solitude is not about being alone. It's about being fully with ourselves. Physical activity is an often overlooked way to enhance the experience of solitude. Exercising alone, without the distractions of a busy gym or the presence of others, allows us to connect deeply with our body and breath. Physical activity releases endorphins, improves our mood, and boosts our energy. Even a simple daily walk can become a mindful practice, a time to reconnect with our bodies and notice our surroundings. If you're new to exercise, start small. You don't need to jump into a rigorous workout. Just begin with a 10-minute walk or gentle stretching. Pay attention to how your body feels, the rhythm of your feet hitting the ground, the sensation of your muscles stretching. Physical activity done mindfully becomes a moving meditation, a way to ground ourselves and release stress. Over time, as you build strength and stamina, you'll find a new appreciation for your body's capabilities. And this feeling can be incredibly empowering. Yoga is another fantastic practice to embrace in solitude. It's a blend of mindfulness and physical activity, bringing attention to both breath and movement. Practicing yoga alone lets you move at your own pace, free from any pressure to keep up with others. This quiet time on the mat becomes a sanctuary, a place to tune into your body's needs and your inner world. Few things enrich solitude more than spending time in nature. When we're alone in natural settings, the world feels larger and our worries smaller. Nature has a calming effect, helping us feel part of something greater. Even a short walk in a nearby park or sitting by a tree can help us reconnect with ourselves and the world around us. If you have access to a more remote natural space, consider dedicating a few hours to being in complete solitude there. Take off your shoes.
Feel the earth beneath your feet.
Listen to the sounds around you and observe without rushing. Notice the subtle details, the way the sunlight filters through the leaves, the texture of rocks, or the movement of water. These simple observations bring us into the present, helping us let go of anxieties about the past or future. Solitude in nature becomes a lesson in simplicity, a reminder that life's greatest joys are often found in the quietest places. For those who enjoy journaling, consider bringing a notebook along. Write down any thoughts or insights that come to you while immersed in nature. This simple practice can help you process emotions and gain clarity, making your time in solitude feel even more meaningful. Solitude is the perfect opportunity to focus on personal growth. And one of the best ways to do that is by learning something new. Whether it's a new language, a musical instrument, or a creative hobby like painting or cooking, learning a skill on your own is both empowering and fulfilling. When we're learning alone, there's no rush, no competition, and no need to meet anyone else's expectations. You're free to go at your own pace, to make mistakes, and to experience the joy of improvement on your terms. Embracing the process of learning is, in itself, an act of mindfulness. It requires focus, patience, and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone. If you're not sure where to start, think about something you've always wanted to do but never had time for. Maybe you've always wanted to learn a few basic guitar chords. Try your hand at watercolor painting, or experiment with new recipes in the kitchen. Use your time in solitude as a chance to explore these interests. Not only will this add structure to your time, but it will also give you something positive to look forward to each day. Goal setting is an empowering practice, especially when done in solitude. In a world full of noise and distraction, time alone provides the perfect environment for introspection. Take a moment to think about what you want to achieve, not just in your career or finances, but in all areas of life, health, relationships, creativity, and personal growth. Begin by reflecting on where you are now and where you'd like to be. Write down your thoughts, and don't worry about making them perfect. This is just for you. Once you have a sense of direction, break down your goals into smaller, achievable steps. Maybe you want to improve your physical health, learn a new skill, or develop a habit of reading more often. Whatever it is, having clear goals provides a sense of purpose, a reason to wake up each morning with a plan. Remember, solitude gives you the space to set goals based on your desires and aspirations, not on what society expects. Use this time to discover what truly matters to you, and let that guide your path. For those who are new to meditation, it may seem like a daunting practice, but meditation is actually quite simple. It doesn't require any special tools or abilities, just a willingness to sit quietly and be present with yourself. Meditation is one of the most transformative practices for embracing solitude, as it helps us cultivate a deep sense of peace and self-awareness. Here's a simple meditation practice to get you started. Choose a place where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably with your back straight, either on the floor or in a chair. Close your eyes if it helps you focus. Begin by taking a few deep breaths, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. Then, let your breath settle into a natural rhythm. Pay attention to each inhale and exhale, noticing how your chest rises and falls. As you sit, you'll notice thoughts coming and going. This is natural. Instead of engaging with them or judging them, simply observe them, letting them pass like clouds in the sky. Bring your attention back to your breath whenever you get distracted. Start with just a few minutes each day. Over time, you can extend your practice, but there's no need to rush. Meditation is about quality, not quantity. When you're ready to finish, take a moment to thank yourself for taking this time. Open your eyes slowly and take in your surroundings, bringing a sense of calm and awareness with you as you continue your day. Through meditation, we learn to befriend ourselves, to embrace silence, and to find contentment within. With regular practice, you'll find that solitude becomes not a lonely experience, but a time of profound connection with your inner self. As we reach the end of this journey through the power and beauty of solitude, I invite you to pause and reflect on what we've explored together. Solitude, that quiet space where you're truly alone, is often misunderstood as something to be avoided or feared. But as we've seen, solitude isn't a void, it's a canvas, a place where we can paint our inner world, free from the expectations and demands of others. In solitude, we have the rare opportunity to meet ourselves, to nurture parts of us that may have been overlooked in the hustle and noise of everyday life. Imagine solitude as a trusted friend who's always there, offering you the space to grow, the time to think deeply, and the chance to reconnect with what truly matters. When we embrace solitude, we step into a relationship with ourselves, one that fosters resilience, clarity, and inner peace. In solitude, we can learn to appreciate our own company, to find comfort in our thoughts, and to enjoy the stillness. This inner journey isn't about shutting out the world. It's about discovering the fullness of who we are, apart from the roles we play and the relationships we maintain. By choosing solitude, you're giving yourself a profound gift, the freedom to find joy within. When you cultivate a rich inner life, you're no longer dependent on external sources for happiness. Imagine waking up each day knowing that your sense of fulfillment doesn't hinge on others' approval, social events, or the buzz of constant activity. Instead, comes from within, from a well of peace and contentment that solitude helps you discover. This doesn't mean we don't need connection or community, of course. Relationships are essential, but when we find joy within, our relationships become more balanced, more genuine. We're not reaching out from a place of need. We're reaching out from a place of fullness, bringing our whole, authentic selves to others. So, how can you start welcoming solitude as a companion? Begin by treating time alone as something valuable, something you look forward to rather than dread. Embrace the practices we've discussed. Set routines that bring purpose to your day. Practice mindfulness to stay present. Take time in nature to feel grounded. Exercise to connect with your body. Explore new skills to nurture your curiosity. And meditate to deepen your understanding of self. Each of these practices transforms solitude into a journey of self-discovery. A time for growth that fills you with a sense of accomplishment, clarity, and peace. Remember, the path of solitude is a journey, not a destination. There may be days when the quiet feels uncomfortable, when your thoughts seem overwhelming, or when you crave distraction. That's okay. Growth is rarely a straight line, and embracing solitude is no different. But with time, patience, and practice, you'll begin to notice a shift. The discomfort will give way to comfort, and you'll start to see solitude as a sanctuary, a place where you find strength, creativity, and insight. You'll come to realize that you're never truly alone because, in solitude, you're discovering the most important relationship of all, the one you have with yourself. As you step into this journey, remember that every moment you spend in solitude is a moment invested in your well-being. Each time you sit in silence, each walk you take alone, each breath you observe in meditation, all of these are gifts to yourself. Moments of healing, of growth, of transformation. These moments are where you learn to listen to your inner voice, to trust your intuition, to find wisdom and joy in simply being. In solitude, you're no longer defined by external circumstances. You're free to be yourself, fully and authentically, with no masks or pretenses. At the Tranquil Mind, we believe that everyone has the potential to live a life filled with inner peace and joy, and solitude is one of the most powerful tools to achieve this. So, I invite you to take the lessons we've shared here and make them a part of your life. Embrace solitude not as a state of loneliness but as a space of freedom. Use it as a time to nurture your dreams, to cultivate gratitude, and to reconnect with the deeper truths that guide you. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of solitude. May you find strength, inspiration, and clarity on your journey. And may the peace of solitude always be a source of joy and resilience in your life. Remember, solitude isn't the absence of something. It's the presence of everything that truly matters. This is the Tranquil Mind, and we're here with you every step of the way on your path to self-discovery. Until next time, take care, stay present, and embrace the beauty of solitude.